emotional issues and shrinking fibroids. It's not just about what we put in our mouth. So, but before I get started, I want to tell you that I am having another Foods to Avoid to Shrink Fibroid Tumors free webinar on January 7th, 2018. If you missed the last two that I held, actually, I think I've held three. Hey there, how are you doing, Dominique? Nice to see you. And the second thing that I have going on is free coaching sessions. So if you're interested in a free 30-minute coaching session, you can click the link below in the description, and I will later put one in the information bar so that you can click up above to sign up for a free coaching session if that's something you're interested in. Also, I have a free Foods to Avoid Facebook group to Shrink Fibroid Tumors Facebook group. There's a link below. And also, if you think that there's anybody who might be able to, who might want to who might benefit from this video, please share it. Share it with everybody you know. Also, I'm on every week at noon Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, and I do YouTube Live, so you can ask me questions. And I do a Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Facebook on my page, What Chelsea Eats. So now I'm going to get into emotional issues and shrinking fibroids. So the thing that people always ask me is, how do I shrink fibroids, and what do I eat? What do I avoid? All those things. So I'm always addressing those types of things. But there is a much deeper issue when it comes to fibroid tumors. There are emotional issues that are attached to fibroid tumors. So some of the questions, I'm going to read off some questions for you, and it'll give you something to think about. When we have these issues in our life, it causes fibroids to grow. I can tell you right now what my issue was. What are fibroids? Fibroids are tissues that attach themselves to women's uterus, in or around the uterus, and it causes things like infertility, heavy bleeding, menstrual pain, things of that nature. So fibroid tumors affect women, a lot of women in our country every day. There's over 600,000 women who are getting hysterectomies every day, and most of those reasons are because of fibroid tumors. And so that answers your question. But I'm going to give you some questions to ask yourself about your emotions. And I can tell you that my issue with fibroids is I was afraid that people were going to abandon me. I'll get to that question in just a second. So I did that my whole life. I was afraid people were going to leave me. So from walking around in that fear all the time, my body developed fibroids. That was the root of my fibroid problem. And so usually your issue is whatever that dominant thing is that you're always concerned about all the time is probably what your problem is. And like, you can ask yourself questions like, are you angry? And if you're angry, what are you angry about? Who are you angry at? Are you bitter? What are you bitter about? Who are you bitter at? Do you have mommy issues? Do you have daddy issues? Do you have boyfriend issues? Do you have husband issues? Are you stressed all the time? And if so, what is the main stressor? What is the thing that is constantly attacking you? What is the thing that consumes you? Like that thing, what is it? Everybody has something that they have to deal with, but ask yourself, what is it? And you have to, if you're planning on shrinking fibroids naturally, you have to deal with your emotional issues. There is no way around it. Like, I mean, I've seen people who have really small fibroids, they might get rid of the fibroid or whatever, but usually what'll happen is they might make the lifestyle change and they'll get rid of the little fibroid, but because they didn't deal with the issues that was causing the fibroids in the first place, emotionally it'll grow back. And that's what happens to women too if they have myomectomies. They'll go and get the myomectomy, get rid of the fibroid, and I can't tell you how many stories I hear about women saying, well, the fibroid came back in a few years and it's worse, or now they're saying I need a hysterectomy. You would not be surprised. It's kind of like you have to deal with the issues. And a lot of you might be listening to this, well, yeah, I know what my problem is. Like, I know what my main concern is, or what my issue is. Maybe I'm mad at my mother because she didn't do or did do this to me or that to me. Well, what do I do about that? How do I walk through that? And so it would be ignorant of me to sit here and tell you what I think you should do about those problems without knowing what your issue is. So what you have to do is figure out if you have somebody in your life that can help work through that with you, or you can get a coach, you can get a counselor, you can get a therapist or whatever to help you work through some of those issues. I do coaching, and that is one of the things that I help women do whenever they are trying to shrink fibroids. I help them to work through their emotional issues. So you can sign up for a free coaching session. I can tell you whether or not we can work together, and I can help you with those issues, or maybe we can work on a particular issue in the 30-minute time slot that I have available for free coaching. I'm more than happy to do that. But the thing that I want you all to know is shrinking fibroids is bigger than just looking at what you eat. The eating is the first thing. You gotta nix all the crappy food, because nothing's gonna happen until you do that. Like, that'll help with all the heavy bleeding and all that stuff. But to get completely and totally healed, one of the things you will have to do is address the emotional issues, because the emotional issues is part of why you had the fibroid in the first place. And that stuff just needs to be healed up. And you can get healed. And a lot of people feel like their situations are or like helpless, like there's nothing that they can do about it, and that's not true. There are things you can do to be healed emotionally. It just seems so overwhelming, probably because you've been dealing with the issue probably your whole life, or at least a good chunk of your life. And the thing is that you can't change other people, but you certainly can make changes in your own life, and you can decide how you're going to live your life. So, for example, say you don't have a good relationship with your sister, and your sister is always on you, criticizing you, I don't know, whatever the problem is, and she's just never going to change, but she's your sister. You can choose how you deal with your sister, and you have to deal with the fact that I got to get healing in my heart for whatever my sister did, whether or not she changes or not. I have to be okay myself. That's just an example. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today. But if you have any particular questions about shrinking fibroids, female health, anything like that, feel free to ask those questions. The vitamin D question came up, and I didn't see the full question. It was about vitamin D. If you want to ask that question again, feel free to ask it. I do know that vitamin D deficiency is rampant around women who have fibroid tumors, and people in general, especially people who have darker skin complexions. It's very common for us to have low vitamin D, and when you go and get your physical yearly, doctors don't automatically check it. But if you go to the doctors and you're getting your physical, just say, hey, doc, can you check my vitamin D? Could you work while vitamin D deficient? Could you work while vitamin D deficient? Like work a job? Is that what you mean? If that's what you mean, yes, I was vitamin D deficient and I was able to work, but like I was tired and like I was experiencing a bunch of symptoms from having vitamin D deficiency. So the answer is yes, but it depends on your situation. And also, it's easy to, it's easy. Hi, Tamara. It's easy to combat vitamin D. All you have to do is just start taking a quality vitamin D, and within months, a few months, your vitamin D should be up to par. I regularly take 5 to 10,000 vitamin D every single day, so that I don't 10,000. Is it MCG? That's what it is. 10,000, 5,000 to 10,000 MCG, so that my vitamin D doesn't dip low, because I know how I am when my vitamin D is low. It's not good. I try to take it every day. Most days I take it, but sometimes I forget. Okay, so your question, Tamara, yes, stress is a huge factor. As a matter of fact, if you did everything else perfectly and you still kept the stress in your life, there is a chance that the fibroid won't shrink because of that. You have to deal with it. And if there are things that you cannot change, you have to learn how to manage it. And also, you cannot hold on to unforgiveness and bitterness and anger and resentment. And this person did that to me, I'll never forgive them. If you're saying stuff like that, your body will not heal. It's almost impossible. I have heard many women say, well, he did this to me or she did that to me, and I will never forgive her or him. And let me tell you, that's a disaster right there. So you might want to ask God to help you with that thought process, because if you don't forgive or let that stuff go, you can't shrink the fibroids. I felt like I had to quit my job. Yeah, you will feel like that, Dominique. You'll feel like you have to quit because you don't have any energy or anything, but you can get that vitamin D up. You just have to take a quality supplement. And also, it could be other factors that are causing you to feel worse too, because usually when people are deficient in vitamin D, they're deficient in this and that, so they could be just generally minerally deficient. That's what my problem was. I was deficient in just about every mineral there was. So I had to go and flood my body with minerals. And I have talked about that in other videos on how to do that too. There's one where I was like combating anemia. There's one where I talk about it. And I talk about the different minerals that I take in order to cause my body to get minerally flooded. And also it has to do with what kinds of foods you're putting in your mouth every day. If you're putting junk in your mouth, you're going to be minerally deficient. That's just the reality of it. You can't expect to put foods that are dead, processed, denatured in your body every day, every meal, even part of the time, and expect to have the nutrients that your body needs and to feel healthy and strong. So, yeah. Any other questions? Don't forget to sign up for the Next Foods to Avoid to Shrink Fibroid Tumors webinar. It's on January 7th, 2018. I can't believe 2018 is right around the corner. And it's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was eating a lot of processed foods. Yeah, Dominique, that's why, honey. That's why. We need to eat lots of plants, fruits, and vegetables. I'm not saying you have to be, a vegan or just a primarily plant-based eater, but you have to fill your body with raw fruits and vegetables as much as you possibly can. Try to make that 70% of your plate every day for every meal, and you'll start to feel better. But you probably need to supplement. Unfortunately, lots of people need to supplement because they're just so far gone as far as the nutrients. but we have to practice eating nutrient-dense foods in order to make sure that our bodies have the nutrients that we need. And the other thing too, the processed foods, it messes with our digestion. So even when we're trying to halfway do a good job, we can't digest the foods and assimilate the nutrients in the food because our digestive tracts are so messed up because of the all the processed foods that we have in our belly. And usually people's guts, if you have vitamin deficiency, your gut is messed up too. So you're not absorbing all of your nutrients from your food either. And I don't recommend going to buy some cheap supplement that doesn't have a good quality, that's not a good quality one, because you're wasting your money there too, because that's a bunch of junk too. And it's hard to decipher what is, what's good and what's not. So if you run across a supplement that I have recommended on my channel, it's not because like I'm affiliated with it or anything. It's because I've used it and I've tried it and I know that it has worked for me. Now, I can't make any guarantees that the supplement is going to work for you. I can just make recommendations based on my own experience or experience of my clients or something like that.